everyone, you're here because you want to get smart, fast, without getting totally buried in information. This time, we're diving into a really interesting chat someone had with a business consultant. You want us to basically cut through the noise and figure out what's really happening in business today.
Yeah, the challenges, the successes,
Yeah.
all the crucial bits.
Exactly.
And, this consultant's view gives us a fantastic window into that whole corporate world. So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights from that conversation.
The important nuggets, like you said before.
Precisely. To give everyone a clearer, maybe more nuanced picture of this really dynamic environment.
Okay, great. So diving right in, the consultant painted a picture of, well, a pretty turbulent global scene, didn't they?
Definitely. Constant tech changes, unpredictable economies, everything feeling kind of interconnected and complex.
So what was the big takeaway for you from their description of the current landscape?
For me, it was the absolute need for companies to be both agile and resilient. They use that word pivot. And I think that's so important. It's not just about small adjustments. Sometimes it's a major strategic shift because the market's changed so much.
Yeah, like changing the whole direction, not just trimming the sails.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And they mentioned those big tech firms during, the recent disruptions, how they basically flipped the script, embraced remote work, went all in on digital. They called it re-engineering their business models. That sounds bigger than just adapting. What's the real difference there?
Well, re-engineering suggests a much more fundamental overhaul.
Right.
You're looking at core processes, structures.
Okay.
Adapting might be, say, using new software within how you already work. But re-engineering, that's often rethinking the entire way you operate to get major improvement.
A much deeper change then.
A transformation, really.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the successful ones weren't just reacting. They were kind of positioning themselves for what's next.
It brings us to scalability.
Yes. Scalability. Being able to grow without falling apart, essentially. Pretty much. Can your business handle a sudden surge in demand? Without performance dropping or costs going through the roof.
Right, like that software startup example suddenly gets 1 million users. Can the servers cope? Can support handle the calls?
Exactly. That's scalability. It means building things, your infrastructure, in a flexible way so you can expand.
Without having to rebuild everything from scratch each time.
Spot on. So in this dynamic world, you need agility, the ability to pivot. You need resilience bouncing back and scalability for that long-term growth.
Okay, makes sense. So given that environment, what are the biggest hurdles companies are facing now?
Well, a huge one the consultant mentioned is market saturation.
Too many players.
Yeah, basically. Loads of companies offering similar things. So differentiation becomes incredibly hard, but also incredibly important.
You can't just be good, you have to be different. Stand out somehow.
Exactly. You need to find your unique angle, something that really connects with people. Think about, the craft beer market or something. So many choices. But new ones succeed by being different ingredients, branding their story, maybe sustainability.
Got it. Find your niche. And then there's the technology factor, always changing. The risk of becoming,
obsolete.
Yeah.
If you stand still, you get left behind. Innovation isn't really optional anymore.
It's like a survival skill.
It really is.
Yeah.
Companies need that culture of continuous learning, always exploring new tech, new ways of doing things, which ties back to agility, right?
Yeah.
Being able to adopt those new things quickly.
And it's not just about the tech or the product itself, is it? The consultant mentioned managing a global workforce. That sounds complicated.
Oh, definitely. Different cultures, time zones, communication styles. It requires really sophisticated management and a deep understanding of local nuances.
Yeah, that sounds challenging.
And then layered on top of that, regulatory challenges.
The red tape.
Exactly. Navigating all the laws, guidelines, permits.
Yeah.
From local stuff right up to international trade rules. It can be a maze.
A constantly shifting maze, probably. The consultant used that phrase, no bed of roses, which is just a simple way of saying business is tough, right? It's hard work.
It absolutely is. It really hammers home that success takes grit, resilience, and just facing up to significant difficulties. It's not easy street.
So how do companies actually thrive with all these headwinds? Not just survive, but succeed?
Well, the consultant circled back to innovation, flexibility, being able to bend without breaking, and having what they called a proactive mindset.
So anticipating problems instead of just putting out fires.
Exactly. Thinking ahead. And they also specifically mentioned agile methodologies. Can you unpack that a bit? What does that really mean in practice?
Sure. Agile is basically a set of principles that value adaptability and iterative progress. Instead of one massive, rigid plan,
Okay.
you break projects into smaller chunks or cycles, you get feedback often, you adjust as you go. Think of software teams releasing updates every couple of weeks.
Instead of one giant launch after 2 years.
Exactly. It's about being nimble, responsive, learning as you go.
Staying light on your feet, constantly adjusting, it sounds. Demanding, actually. It can be.
So what makes it all worth it? Why do people stick with it despite all these challenges? What are the rewards?
The consultant talked about rewards on, well, several levels. There's the simple satisfaction of seeing your idea become real. You know, building something tangible.
That sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, and then there's the gratification of weathering the storms, as they put it. Getting through those really tough times and coming out stronger.
Weathered the storms, right? That resilience paying off. That feeling of, wow, we made it through that. I can see how that would be powerful.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just personal satisfaction. There's the chance to make a real impact, maybe drive change on a bigger systemic level.
Well, changing an industry or society even.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe even leaving a legacy, you know, a lasting contribution through innovation or how you operate. Think about companies that pioneered sustainability efforts or developed tech that changed lives.
Legacy. Yeah, that's about more than just the bottom line, isn't it?
Definitely. And another big reward the consultant stressed was just the personal and professional growth you get from tackling these huge challenges.
You just learn so much, right?
You really do. You build resilience, adaptability, better problem-solving skills, stuff that's valuable anywhere.
True. You learn by doing, by trying, sometimes by failing, and then getting back up. And what about relationships? They mentioned networking.
Yes, building those strong professional connections, that was key. It's about the power of your network. They even use the phrase all in when talking about investing in relationships.
All in. What does that mean in this context? Like really committing?
Exactly. It means putting in the time, the effort, the trust, building real rapport. Because strong networks can give you support, open doors, help you navigate tough spots.
Yeah.
It's a deep investment in people.
All in. Got it. So the rewards are kind of layered. Personal satisfaction, making a difference, growing yourself, and the strength you get from your connections. Okay, let's maybe circle back and dig into some of those specific business phrases the consultant used. We talked about agile methodologies. What about the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, the tip of the iceberg. It's a great idiom. It basically means what you see on the surface is just a tiny part of a much bigger hidden issue.
Like declining sales might be the tip.
Right. And underneath could be outdated tech, maybe poor morale, shifting customer tastes, a whole load of stuff you don't see immediately.
Okay, tip of the iceberg, the visible sign of deeper problems. How about to break the ice?
Break the ice is simpler. It just means saying or doing something to make people feel more comfortable and start talking, especially if it's a new group or kind of an awkward situation.
Just easing the tension. Makes sense. Then there's think outside the box. We hear that one all the time.
We do. It's really a call for creative thinking. Don't just go for the obvious standard solutions. Try to find new, unconventional approaches to problems.
Look beyond the usual limits.
Okay.
And bite the bullet. That sounds unpleasant.
It usually is. Bite the bullet means you have to face a difficult, maybe painful, but unavoidable situation with courage. Just get on with it.
Like a company having to make tough layoffs during a downturn.
Exactly. They might have to bite the bullet and do it, even though it's hard.
A grim necessity sometimes. The consultant also mentioned fail fast, learn faster. That feels very current.
It really does. It's about embracing experimentation. Mistakes will happen. That's okay. The key is to learn from them super quickly and adapt, iterate, improve. Don't let the fear of failing paralyze you.
So learn from the stumbles quickly. What about risk management frameworks? Sounds a bit more formal.
It is, but it's crucial. It's basically a structured way for a business to identify potential risks, figure out how serious they are, and plan how to deal with them.
How do they do that?
Often involves looking at data, research, and doing scenario planning.
Scenario planning, like imagining different futures.
Pretty much. Thinking through various potential situations, good, bad, and planning how the business would respond. Being prepared.
Almost like practicing for different possibilities.
Okay.
And then capitalizing on emerging opportunities. That sounds like needing to be quick off the mark.
Absolutely. It's about spotting new trends or market openings early and having the agility to jump on them quickly.
Seizing the moment. And synergy. We often hear that about mergers.
Right. Synergy is the idea that when two things combine, The result is greater than just adding them up individually, like 1 + 1 = 3, in a business sense.
Right.
A merger might create synergy if, say, combining their technologies or customer lists creates more value together than they had apart.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Got it.
What about the ripple effect?
The ripple effect describes how one small action or event can spread out and cause much bigger, often unexpected consequences down the line.
Like dropping a pebble in a pond.
Exactly. A tiny change in a supply chain, for example, could have huge ripple effects everywhere else.
Interesting. One small change, big impact. Growth mindset came up too. What's that about?
A growth mindset is basically believing that your abilities aren't fixed. You believe you can develop your talents, your intelligence, through effort, learning, and responding to feedback.
As opposed to a fixed mindset where you think you're just born with certain talents or limits?
Precisely. It's about believing in your potential to improve.
Crucial for learning, I imagine. And then to roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's another resilience one. Rolling with the punches means adapting to setbacks and difficulties without getting knocked out, basically. Staying flexible and positive even when things get tough.
A vital skill in business, for sure. Okay, lastly, the consultant touched on two big trends: digital transformation and corporate social responsibility, or CSR.
Right, these feel huge right now. Digital transformation is about integrating technology deep into every part of a business, fundamentally changing how it works and delivers value. It's not just about having a website anymore.
It's deeper integration.
Much deeper. And CSR, corporate social responsibility, that's about companies taking responsibility for their impact on society and the environment, moving beyond just profits to consider ethics, sustainability, community impact.
Okay, so looking at the bigger picture, wow, we've covered a lot.
We have.
So just to kind of wrap it up, we've gone through this really dynamic business world, looked at major challenges like market saturation and tech disruption, but also the rewards that deep satisfaction, making an impact, personal growth. It really underscores that need to be adaptable, to keep learning constantly, right? To always be looking ahead.
Absolutely. That point about lifelong learning from the consultant is so key. Things change so fast. Staying curious, updating your skills, it's not just nice to have, it's essential to stay competitive.
Yeah, and it seems clear the road to success isn't straight. It's bumpy, full of obstacles.
Definitely.
But those obstacles are actually chances to learn, to get stronger. It keeps coming back to resilience, adaptability, that proactive approach.
Spot on. And for everyone listening, whether you're looking to advance your career or maybe understand a new field or just satisfy your curiosity, getting a handle on these ideas, agility, resilience, continuous learning, it's incredibly useful.
So the final thought, perhaps, is for listeners to maybe mull over how these concepts apply to them.
Yeah, exactly. How can you bring more agility, more resilience, more continuous learning into your own work or even your personal life? It's really about building that capacity to adapt and thrive in a world that, let's face it, just keeps changing.